Hi Esmerelda, thank you so much for coming in today. My name's Kaili and I'm a counselor in training here at Hood. We'll be talking for about 20 minutes today, but before we get started, I just want to go over a few things with you so you know what to expect.
Okay.
We do follow the American Counseling Association's Code of Ethics, and the most important part of that I want to go over with you right now is the confidentiality agreement. And it can be a lot to digest, so if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to stop me, let me know. So first I want to be clear that what you say here stays here.
Okay.
Right, so this is your time and your space to talk about whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
And the only times that I would be forced to break that confidentiality would be if you told me that you plan to hurt yourself or hurt someone else. And that could include knowingly giving somebody else a disease. Also, if you told me that you participated in or were aware of the abuse or neglect of a child or vulnerable adult, then I would have to break confidentiality there too.
Okay.
If I received a court subpoena, I would be required to release information. And then lastly would be at your request. If you wanted your records shared with, say, a psychiatrist or your primary care physician,
Okay.
or even another therapist, then I could do that.
Okay.
Do you have any questions about any of that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, great. So I usually say that it takes a few sessions to kind of figure out if we're the right fit for each other.
Okay.
So during our fourth session, I'll check in with you and see how you think things are going and whether I'm the right fit for you.
Okay. Sounds
Okay.
great.
Good, well, let's get started. What brings you in today?
Well, I recently just decided to go back to graduate school, or to go to graduate school, and I feel like it's a great opportunity in that, it's going to help me further my career, but I just feel like I have so much other things going on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really struggling with can I handle everything?
Sure, well, that's a big deal, going back to grad school. I can imagine that would be really overwhelming.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about what's going on?
Yeah, so I also, I'm a single mom.
Okay.
I work, 30 plus hours a week. I do some volunteer work, and I also am a coach. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
So you really have a lot going on.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I feel like all of these are like the right things for me to do. And so I think I'm really struggling with how am I going to be able to give all of myself to every single one of these,
Sure.
things I'm involved in.
Right. That makes sense. I mean, you have a lot going on, and it sounds like you care very much about every single thing.
Yeah.
And want to do well at each of them.
I do. They're all important to me. So I think that's why it's so important for me to make sure that I can, do my best in everything that I'm doing. So.
Right. You want to do your best, and it probably feels really overwhelming to be looking now at what was already a full schedule being
Mm-hmm.
even fuller.
Yeah, exactly. I'm definitely overwhelmed. But I think everything is necessary, so.
Okay, can you tell me a little bit more about that? What do you mean everything is necessary?
Well, obviously I'm a single parent, so that's
Right.
main. I have to work so I can, provide. School's gonna help me further myself. The reason why I'm coaching is because then my family is able to participate in the sport for free. So I can't not do that. And then my volunteer work, it's a great experience. And the little boy that I'm working with, he's a good kid, and I don't, I just feel obligated to, still work with him.
You feel obligated to him?
Yeah, definitely.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so he's, a child in need of assistance. And I just kind of advocate for him and just make sure that everything's going well for him. Like if he has any needs, I help do that. So he's in foster care, and so that means he's not in a permanent place. It's been over a year since he's been in foster care. So I'm just trying to help him walk him through the process, and I feel like he needs me.
So it sounds like you really care about him.
Yeah, I do. He's a good kid, and I don't want to be another person that just lets him down.
Sure. So as you're looking at all of these things on your plate, and there certainly is a lot, and trying to figure out what to let go of, that probably feels like a really difficult thing to consider.
Yeah. I feel like it's the easiest for me to let go of. Well, I think it's the easiest just because everything else is so important to my life, but I feel like this is important to his life, which is making it harder for me to be able to let it go. And I know once if, I do stop volunteering, he'll get assigned somebody else, but I'm kind of protective, and
Sure, it's become personal.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, I don't really want him to feel like I'm leaving him, but that's definitely the easiest part of my life that I can let go of,
Sure.
but I'm not ready.
Sure, yeah. I definitely hear and can understand the conflict there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I just think that it's not time to stop,
Sure, sure. So on the one hand, this is probably the easiest and most obvious thing to let go of. But on the other hand, it's really an emotional decision.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you feel a lot of responsibility to this boy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do. Which is making it harder. And then I'm like, you know what? Like, my coaching isn't going to last forever. School will be on break soon, so maybe I can handle it. But then also, I'm pregnant, and I don't want that to interfere. So even though, like, some of these areas of my life are going to end, will it still be hard for me to, work with him?
Right.
So.
Right, yeah. You're looking at what's going on right now, and you're also trying to look ahead to the future, and there are a lot of unknowns there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we can maybe play out a little bit what would happen in your mind if you stopped your volunteer work. How would that change things for you?
Well, I think it would be, on my end, I think it'd be good, because then I wouldn't have to go to supervision. I wouldn't have to, do the documentations for it. He is like 45 minutes away, so I wouldn't have to drive out there and go see him. So I think that, give me a lot of time for myself and for my son and, just other areas of my life. But for him, I feel like it could be detrimental and it could be harmful for him. So I think I kind of underestimated our connection, so I thought that, okay, this would be okay. So I thought it'd be okay and that he wouldn't be so upset about it. And then he asked me, I told him I couldn't come, and then he said, was I gonna call him? And it took me like completely off guard, because when I do call him, he doesn't really say anything. And I think it's part of his autism, and he's a boy, so like the phone's not really his thing.
Right.
So, but after he said that, I was like, oh my gosh, you care? So it's making it kind of harder,
Sure. Yeah, it kind of took you by surprise. You weren't expecting him to be that aware of a phone call.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't think it would have such an impact on him.
Do you think that specific instance is really what's complicating things for you right now as you're trying to determine where to go next?
It's definitely making it harder.
Yeah. So that was really important that he...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Because I just didn't feel that, I didn't think our connection was that deep between us. And I think because sometimes I'm kind of a little underwhelmed when I go there. I don't know if it's because of his, he's just distracted. He's an adolescent and he has autism. So, and he sees therapists, counselors, social workers. So when I come in, I think it's kind of like, okay, you're just another person. And then coming to just bother him or, make his life more difficult, then I realized, like, wait a second. So
suddenly you went from understanding yourself as somebody that's kind of in the background to realizing that you're somebody that might be very important to this little boy.
Yeah, and so that role change, it made me more aware that, like, I really have to decide, is it okay for me to let that go? And I don't think it is.
All right. Well, I noticed that you're kind of fidgeting with your hands a little bit.
Yeah.
It's kind of uncomfortable to talk about this, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's uncomfortable to, face the fact that I might have to end that relationship.
Yeah.
Because I do like him, and I think that now that I realize how important I am in his life, that I think it's gonna be difficult for him and I. Because I think I'm gonna wonder once we're done, how is he? Is he back with his family? Is he still in foster care? How's he progressing? So it's definitely uncomfortable.
Yeah, so it sounds uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, well, I wonder if we can play out another side of it.
Okay.
So we've talked about what would happen for you in your life if you stopped volunteering, but you also said that there would be a natural end to this relationship on its own anyway. Can we kind of look at the flip side? What happens for him if you stop volunteering or not?
I think it would just be another setback. So because he is autistic, he's always been so he's been in foster care for a year, and before, when the year was approaching, he would always, I've been in this home for a year, it's been a year, and he's so analytical about things that I think that if I end it, it'd be even more of a disappointment, especially because it's going to end, if I end myself, it's going to be while he's in foster care. I don't want to be okay, I'm in foster care for this long, and now she's gone, and his therapist changed recently, and I don't want to be another one of those changes. I think it'd be rough for him that nothing was consistent throughout this whole period. This is not his first foster home either. So
this is really a heavy weight on you.
Yeah.
You're feeling a lot of responsibility for kind of the life course of this boy.
And I think that he already had a volunteer before me, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But he moved out of the county, and so that ended too. So once he switched to foster home, his volunteer also stopped. So here I'm the second volunteer at the second foster home. He's been in foster care for a year.
So what I'm hearing then, Esmeralda, is that you're feeling really overwhelmed and really burdened by having so many things on your plate at once.
Yeah.
But then this thing that seems like it kind of would be the most sensible thing to let go has its own very specific kind of emotional burdens attached to it on its own. It's something that kind of is a source of emotional conflict and weight for you as well.
Definitely. Yeah. It is a heavy weight on me, which I don't think I realized until very recently, which is only making this whole situation even more difficult.
Do any of the other obligations that you have the same weight to them? I mean, I'm sure being a mother, that's kind of a
that can't
category
change, right?
of its own.
Yeah. I think just the coaching, but I know that's going to end soon, but it's still if I don't coach, then all of my family that's in the program is going to have to pay, which that's a lot of money, So I'm not so as attached to that. I'm okay with that being over, but just a matter of when that ends,
So that is going to be ending?
Yeah.
And yet you feel like you also need to stop volunteering even though the coaching's ending?
I don't know, because then also not too long after coaching is done, I'm gonna be having a baby, so it's and I know for my volunteer work, I don't have to see him every week. As long as I have some type of contact with him every week, then that's okay. But I feel on the phone, our sessions are so much more unproductive, just because he's not very talkative. So I feel it's so much more important for me to go out and see him in person, especially while I can, before I have the baby. But yeah. So coaching, I don't think there's any emotional attachment to that. It's just something that I have to do for the kids, because I think it's important for the kids to be in activities also. And then I kind of feel dragged into it because my mom was do this for me, and so now I'm doing it for her. So
So that sounds kind of like another obligation.
Yeah.
You feel obligated to somebody to do something that's placing strain on your life in some way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think, I mean, my mom could easily take my spot in coaching, but I don't know, would that be too much for her to handle, and would she be willing to? I mean, I coach little kids, a lot of little kids, and I don't know if she's willing to do it because or else she would be doing it and I wouldn't be doing it. So definitely, yeah, there's obligations in that too.
So what I feel like I'm hearing a lot of is that you're feeling very overwhelmed and spread very thin, and that a lot of these different things are tied into obligations that you feel to other people. Does that seem right?
Yeah, for the most part. I think a school is like like that's for me, for myself. But I would agree that the other areas, yeah, they're for other people.
What are some things that are just for you? School is...
School. Yeah. I mean, spending time with my son, that's for both of us, you know? And it's very important for both of us. So, but, you know, when I coach, that's me spending time with him as well, too, because I coach him. So, but yeah, it's obligations I feel like are to other people, not really for myself.
Well, we're nearing the end of our time for today. Is there anything that you'd like to discuss that we haven't talked about yet?
No, I think the session went really well. Like, I think you really helped me realize that I need to, you know, do stuff for myself, because you made a good point. Like, I am obligated to other people. So I think I'm gonna like explore some of that when I go home, and, you know, really sit down and, you know, think things out a little more. I definitely think that you helped me today, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I really appreciate you being so open with me, and you definitely do have a lot of things going on, a lot of things that you're trying to balance, and I hope that in our next session we can kind of start to explore a little bit more and come up with some ways to help you feel a little bit better supported, and less like you're trying to hold everything up all by yourself.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Great. Thank you so much.
See you next time.